What up, my freaks? RuinusInsight here with part 39 of my Total War Warhammer 3 Orion Immortal Empires campaign. Modded Orion Immortal Empires, whatever. Anyway, second last episode of the campaign. Last episode we focused on the Ritual of Rebirth at the Oak of Ages, and we still do have, or maybe third last episode, I don't know. And we still do have some rituals to do. And that said, this episode is not just going to be about the rituals. Well, I was ending turns to get to, or to get from one ritual to another. Deliric here got attacked by Tehetshish, who currently holds the Sword of Cain. And since this army has never fought before, was just built for fun with a ton of cav, including demigryphs and dragon princes, who are technically a higher tier than our wild riders and our great stag knights, both of which count as tier 4. I'd like to see them in action. Granted, their stats kind of look pathetic compared to our stats because we have so many buffs, but well, and we can still see how they perform outside of the vacuum of looking at the stat sheet. Besides, this is the Sword of Cain, and it's a big old pile of Blackheart Corsair handbows with their anti-large missiles. Let's see how they do. Just for fun, one more non-ritual fight. Go. Alrighty, here we go. Dragon Princes and Demigryph. Nice, and oh my lord, the great stags make the demigryphs look small by comparison. That's, I wasn't expecting that. Demigryphs are pretty big and pretty powerful beasties. And seeing them look small like this is kind of odd. But anyway, well, I suppose Mournfangs also make them look tiny, but the Dragon Princes and the Demigryphs look pretty darn decent. I think I prefer the very Imric color scheme on the Dragon Princes, but I do like the green on the Demigryphs. Anyway, let's see how we do here. Now, this is going to be pretty interesting. The enemy has a massive, absolutely massive pile of those Blackheart Corsairs with handbows, and they have the anti-large missiles. That said, they are all in a forest. I'm not sure that benefits them or it benefits us more. Gonna be interesting to see. We do have, ooh, and it looks like we get hit with the Sword of Cain on one of our great stag knights, so they will rampage, but of course, does that actually matter in any way, considering the fact that, while they were charging in the first place. Let's see their first charge into the line of enemies there. Send those bleak swords flying. And I want to see the charge of the Dragon Princes and the Demigryphs as well. Alright, don't just stop right in front of the enemy. These are obviously not going to be Imric's Dragon Princes. They're not going to hit nearly anywhere near as hard, but I'm sure they'll be, well, they'll be okay. But looks like they don't have enough mass to push through the enemy, but the Demigryphs most definitely do. There we go. Pretty solid charge right into the pile of enemies there, and keep on charging right through. Very nice Demigryphs. And we'll follow those, the heavier units up with our Wild Riders. The stags, the demigryphs, the dragon princes essentially lead the way with their mass, although I suppose I should have kept the dragon princes back with the wild riders. But now it's just a big old melee in the forest, a big old brawl. We can see the enemy is taking massive amounts of damage since their murderous prowess / mastery has already activated. It looks like the center of the enemy army has already pretty much collapsed, but they are still fighting on the flanks, although who knows for how much longer. The fact that this is a forest battle, well, I mean, this portion of the battlefield is forested, is making it a little bit difficult to see what's going on, but well, you gotta expect forest fights when you're playing the Wood Elves. And then, I guess we got more cav here than we got in Orion's army, technically speaking. I mean, technically the Hawk Riders are also flying cav, flying missile cav, so it is technically the same amount. But more ground cav, let's say. And of course the missile cav of the Sisters of the Thorn. The enemy lord is still alive. The Sword of Cain, I believe, makes you unbreakable until you're defeated. Doesn't look like she wants to fight our unit directly, because even while the Sword of Cain allows these sorcerers to hit hard, she's not going to be particularly tanky herself. 20 ward save and 20... just 20 ward save and no physical resistance. Yeah, that's just not enough. And the rest of the enemy army has at this point shattered. Now we're just waiting to kill off the enemy sorcerer. Ooh, nice hit. Does manage to use the Sword of Cain to bring down one of the Wild Riders, but Donas, our Glade Captain, is here. And the Glade Captain will bring the sorcerers down and probably very much avoid drawing the Sword of Cain, which will go to our Lord. Not going to be particularly useful on a Mage Lord, but this was just for fun, so yeah, love it. Alright, there we go. Ooh, one unit of Black Ark Corsairs with handbows did manage to survive and make it off the field of battle. Perhaps not a necessary fight, but a fun one. This is Orion's campaign after all, and Wood Elf Cavalry is still the name of the game. And the Wood Elf Cavalry is certainly showing up. The Demigryphs and the Dragon Princes, tier 4 they may be, but with the buffs that they have, a lot of them got massively more damage. Though some of them did do on par or even a little bit less, but in some cases massively more, like these guys. 33k, 35k, whereas the Demigryphs got 13, 14, 8, and 13 on the Dragon Princess. Still, it was cool to see them in action and in their colors. Anyway, I guess heal up. It's not like we really care about this place. I wasn't even going to have those guys take it. Anyway, we're still in the realm of time skips because we have to wait out until the next ritual is available. So I'm gonna make a cut here, and when we come back, we'll pop the next ritual post time skip. So here comes the cut. And we're back. It does look like with the Ritual of Rebirth having succeeded, the final battle is available for us to take it pretty much any time, and then we can do it once the rituals are generally complete. Let's give this a quick read. The Beastmen remain one of the many ever-present threats to the world's forests, but the bolstering of the world roots in this region means that any further malicious intent can no longer bring significant imbalance to the weave. And of course, completing the Ritual of Rebirth of the Oak of Ages gives us the short victory. Achieved, well, sure gives us the short victory, I guess. Anyway, we ran out the clock, and with those completed, we are ready to pop our next ritual, which I guess is gonna be the Witchwood. The sisters do have their dragons now, and that's the thing that we've been wanting to try out. Just want to double check if there's any points that they're missing, but I don't believe that they are. We could give them the Possessed by the Trickster God, though I suppose the Glade Captain already has those. We don't have Howl of the Forest, but it's not like they're fighting in melee a lot. They are fighting in range more. You know what? I think we're going to go with Sight Beyond Sight to power themselves up, even with these guys, and not potentially in range. I think I like that more. So, the Witchwood. Perform Ritual. And let's see what we have here. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. I believe we'll be able to auto-resolve one and then head towards the other ones afterwards. So that's the plan, and that's what we'll do. You can go for the first. Auto-resolve, and then we'll head to... We'll actually fight the other two. And it's going to be Skaven, interestingly. And obviously these guys will have no chance in the ambush. Like so, and it doesn't really matter. What do? We have 500,000 money. All the money that we could want for whatever we please. And then we're going to, which is in 3 turns, and this is in... Oh, they're both in 3 turns. Huh. Okay, interesting. Well, we'll go to this one, I guess. It doesn't really matter which one we go to. And I guess I'm going to make another cut here. And then when we come back, we'll have waited out the clock until this is either 1 turn. Maybe we'll wait until it's 1 turn, then we'll hit that one. And then we'll allow this one to pop onto the field. And then we'll hit it at full strength. So, another cut. Alrighty, there we go. We're back again and ready to jump into the, well, I was supposed to say the first, but really both of the invasions to complete the Ritual of the Witchwood. Now, granted, we still have the 6 turns, but obviously between the episodes. For those, we also do have the Sword of Cain on this little army, which is causing us a -10 Diplo with all relations, plus, or -10 Diplo with all factions, plus the fact that we have the Nemesis Crown on Orion, which is even more. I don't know whether we'll bother to keep it because it's a lot and unnecessary. Oh wow, would you look at that. The Missinland and Null have reclaimed all the ruins down here. Oh, well, good job to them. Gotta appreciate their work here. That's, well, they probably appreciate us a lot, but it's gonna take them a long time to build up like this. I suppose we could give them a few 100,000 gold if we really wanted to, but I don't think they've earned it. Anyway, time to jump into those fights, yeah? Sisters of Twilight, given to Forest Calls, and jump into the first. Let's see if this works out ambush-wise. And indeed it does. That's a lot of Warp Lightning cannons, but I imagine they, well, they won't achieve too much. Away we go. Alrighty, and away we go. Massive pile of aerial units will drop down amongst the enemies, and now we have those forest dragons perhaps stopped in their place with the Howling Warp Gale, but the Howling Warp Gale won't stop their dragon's breaths, obliterating, let's say, 70% of 2 of the enemy units and heavily damaging maybe 30% another. Looks like the enemy lord is already wavering and terrified and is just having generally a bad time. We've got the Hawk Riders shooting the enemy from the other side as well. And their multi-shot arrows are going to be needed to hurt those piles of sensor bearers, after all, relatively unarmored as they are. Dragons, of course, still trapped. The enemy lord down to very little HP and will in fact go down under fire from our, from something. It doesn't really matter from what. And here comes more dragon breaths. I guess we only got 2 off, which explains why only 2 units were essentially decimated. 2 more will be decimated similarly, and the balance of power shifts rapidly to about 90% in our favor. The Eagles have shredded the enemy warp lightning cannons, and pretty much the only things that will remain on field are the unbreakable Plague Monk sensor bearers. Lovely. Alright, now just a matter of coming down with our dragons and whatnot and ripping the rest of those rats apart. I've always loved how the forest dragon's wings look like. They look like a, I don't know, like a moth or a butterfly or something like that. That's really neat. It's a nice touch. And come on down. There we go. Oh, wow, huh. It kind of charged and then lifted off again. Huh. That was really interesting. You guys saw that, right? The dragon sort of touched down and hit the enemy units and then immediately lifted off. Wait, is it possible to do that on purpose? Because if it is, it would be very much abusable. Just sort of charge down into a troop and get some damage going and then immediately lift off without allowing the enemy to hit back at all. I'm gonna have to try that out at some point. Not that I would probably ever abuse such a thing, but it's an interesting thing if it is such a thing. If anybody's aware of it already, just let me know. That'll save me some testing. Anyway, dragons embroiled in the fight against all those sensor bearers, and I'm sure we'll be able to destroy them with decent ease. We are going to keep them healed, though, with the regrowth. That's because we don't want our single entities having taken too much damage here. They're obviously in no threat of dying themselves. And it is nice to get them a little bit of a spotlight. Granted, we've been seeing forest dragons once again fighting throughout the campaign via lords, but certainly not in numbers like this. Somewhere, Imric is enjoying the whole concept as well. Alright, love those little doggo-like pounces. I also like that the sisters are leading the other dragons. in the fight. 136 kills, pretty solid as well, though it looks like one of the dragons is beating the sisters, probably due to massive damage from one of its dragon breaths. Alright, just a few more sensor bearers remain. I wonder if it would have been faster to... Well, it probably would have been faster to come down with the Hawk Riders and just rip the remaining rats to shreds. But once again, I wanted to give the dragons a chance to do their thing. And do their thing they do, but there is, what, 2 rats remaining, 3 rats remaining, 2 rats now, and the battle will be ours in very, very short order. A last rat gets completely surrounded by all the dragons, ripped apart, and with that, the battle's ours. Lovely. Alright, there we go. Skaven absolutely obliterated, and, well, that went pretty much exactly as expected, as obviously they were ambushed, and, well, honestly, even if they weren't ambushed, they would have had a pretty bad time, though, admittedly, gotta still admit to the annoying nature of that Howling Warp Gale, which is very, very bad for an all-flying army. Either way, we'll destroy this unit. Don't tell me we get losses here. Okay, no good. We won't have enough room or movement range to get back to the other army, but that's not a big deal. We'll get back to it the turn after. Alright, and we have prepared to end the turn anyway, so that'll work just fine. Just gonna level these guys. Well, you know what? Let's level them after the turn is over. End turn, we'll fight the other one, and that'll complete the ritual of the Witchwood. Golgaz came out of situation mustering. Well, that's good to know, I guess. Hardly relevant to us, though. I guess Orion is kind of down there. I was gonna get him another battle for the crown, as in to keep it up and running. Honestly, I don't super care that we keep it, but the reduction of public order or non-public order relationship or diplomatic relations with other factions is pretty significant. But now is not the time to consider that with Orion. It's the Sisters of Twilight's show. Let's go for... I mean, they do occasionally land, and frankly, their melee and defense stats are kind of weak. Granted, it's on a dragon, so it's hardly surprising. So let's get them Tempered Rigor. You two mages. We are gonna max out Earthblood, not that we have been really needing it, but who knows, perhaps this battle. And at last, we will get Death from Above for our Glade Captain, which is the reason why we have him in this army in the first place. Invasion begins, and the hunt returns. Lovely. Well, that'll give us another nice power-up. We'll hit Mika or Micah here. And once again, 4 Warp Lightning Cannons and just a ton of Storm Vermin, couple Hell Pit Abominations, not an ambush, but oh, they'll actually run. Huh, that's surprising. I didn't even know these armies could attempt to run away, but yeah, I guess they want no part of this, and that's hardly surprising. Sisters of Twilight killed them all.
For the forest! For the queen in the woods! For all Athel Loren!
Gotta love seeing that dragon fight. Ooh, it does look like the rats don't love it so much, as they do hit Nystra and Arahan with the Warp Lightning Cannons. A field battle this time, so it might be a little bit different than the previous battle, which was an ambush. However, the fact that this is a choke point might not lend itself so well to the enemy getting any kind of advantage. We're going to head through the enemy army so that the Hawk Riders can hit said enemy from the back. The units of Eagles will touch down once again upon the enemy artillery, while all of our dragons will move forward and get ready to use their dragon breaths. There we go, right into those piles of enemy Storm Vermin. Storm Vermin, there are aplenty, or perhaps there were aplenty, as all 5 dragon breaths clear out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 full units of Storm Vermin, taking about 70% of their HP and forcing them to rout, and a unit of Death Runners as well, which is good because we don't want that Weeping Blade reducing our dragon's armor to half. Enemy Lord is getting sniped by our Hawk Riders from above, and by the looks of it will be dropping very shortly. The enemy Warp Lightnings have pretty much gone silent as they've been destroyed by the Eagles. And it looks like this battle will be ours pretty much just as quickly as the previous. Alright, Doom Wheels are the focus now, and the Hawk Riders are pretty darn solid at bringing these things down. I love those multi-shots from the Sisters of Twilight as well. Doomwheel attempting to escape, and it does look like there is still a Hellpit Abomination supported by a few units of Storm Vermin still in the fight. Though I'd wager not for much longer either. The Hellpit now being focused down by the Hawk Riders and will fall to crush the rats below. As of the exactly the same as the last battle, Plague Monk Sensor Bearers will be the last on the field, and with that, the battle's ours. And we just gotta make sure that the last of the Sensor Bearers are destroyed as well. Hawk Riders continue riddling them with arrows, multi-shots continue coming in from the Sisters of Twilight as well, and I'm sure the Eagles, with their bleed application and their area attack, should be able to finish off those bearers quickly. And I still do love seeing the Eagles do their thing. Man, over the course of this campaign and Imric's campaign, I've really grown fond of the Eagle units. I never really used to be as fond of them as I've become, which is quite interesting. I gotta give the Manticore blobs another try. Granted, Manticores are single units, but, well, you still sort of... The best way to use them is generally in multiples, either 2 or 3 at a time, to attack individual things, which makes them sort of like an eagle unit. But yeah, I'm really liking those eagles. Anyway, with that, the battle's ours, the enemy's been destroyed, we will chase the enemy down, but that off-screen. Alright, there we go, down go almost all the rats. Well, I guess if the army ran, actually, that is all, in fact, of the rats, and the ritual of the Witchwood is now complete. Beautiful. Alright, with that, there remain, I believe, it's 3 or 4. There's still a lot of turns to go through in between the episodes, but, well, if we're gonna finish off the campaign, we'll finish it off right at this point. Orion's Camp, Forest of Gloom, and Jungles of Qian, and the Sacred Pools, each of which will have a different army fight the enemies, but we'll have to wait for another cut for that, so here comes the next cut to the next ritual. Alrighty, and we're back again. As you can guess, Orion's Camp was the next ritual on the menu, and I don't know whether we can actually fight these invasions off. I waited the 3 turns for the 2 invasions after ambushing the one with a quick little auto-resolve, and our army, with the Eternal Guard and the Zotes, can they take on an army that looks like this? What the heck is this? Why? I mean, the Beastmen armies were at least sort of generally somewhat balanced to some degree. Why do these guys have like 15 rogue idols? What? Or 13 rogue idols, and a lucky number as well. I mean, this is not a good army specifically to face off against this type of thing, and I'm very interested to see whether it'll die here. We will probably then need to reinforce if it does, but D'Artagnan, you gotta give it a try. You gotta give it a try. I suppose at the end of the day we could back up towards Orion's Camp and use the troops there, but without any range damage at all in the army, the rogue idols and the giants are gonna be toughies. Here we go.
Athel Loren! Onward!
Alrighty, onward indeed. I will once again readily admit that I have some concerns, and on top of that, it looks like we don't have a particularly advantageous map. Either no real height to take advantage of, no impassable terrain to put our backs to or our sides to, and we'll just have to get surrounded by a full stack of nothing but giants and rogue idols. And this army is... well, I guess we'll see. I was about to say, I don't know how well this army will be able to handle this sort of thing, but I guess we're going to find out. And we're going to start the battle off with a little bit of that good old-fashioned sniping action. We don't have a lot of range available to us in this particular army, but we do have our Lord to hopefully knock the enemy Lord out before it gets to the enemy. I'm actually not sure whether it might have been better to save killing off the enemy Lord. Oh, wow. Save killing off the enemy lord to get a morale shock at the exact right moment, but I guess it'll at least kill off its aura, its leadership aura. Anyway, we use the Dragon Breath on the Rogue Idol. It did 5% of its HP only. Granted, the Forest Dragon Breath isn't like a Star Dragon Breath. It's an multi-unit breath type, meaning it's obviously not going to be as effective against a single target, even a big old target wherein the target's so big that the breath doesn't miss at all. But nonetheless. Anyway, time to chase down that enemy lord. Knocking him right into the enemy, or into our army there. And one more bite. And one more bite. Are you dead now? I think he just got crushed by the dragon. Okay, well, here we go. Time to hold ground. You know, one good thing about this type of enemy army, even though I think this is not going to go super well for us, is the fact that this army is not going to be able to do anything about our war drum, because we could just hide it in the center of our formation. Speaking of the war drum, this is also the first time we'll be using Disdain of the Dragon Emperor to buff our units. Not the bonus armor, which will make us more tanky, but the immunity to psychology is going to be needed for our Eternal Guard, as that's a lot of units that cause terror on the enemy army. In fact, the entire enemy blob causes terror. Our Lord will also have her work cut out for her. It is taking a concerningly long time to do damage even to a single giant. And yeah, that's a big old wall of flesh there. Uh-oh. Alright, well, our Archasotek at least is still in the center of all this, poisoning a few of the enemies there. Oh, and the little skinks chucking those javelins into those giants' faces. The giants and rogue idols are like towering, absolutely towering over the Zotes. Yep. And how are we doing? Well, the enemy is taking some damage. It looks like the giant that our lord has been focusing down this entire time has dropped to about 30% HP and will actually be the first of the enemy army's units to run away. You will notice that we are constantly dropping both regrowth and earthblood and flesh to stone on all of our units, which is the only thing essentially keeping them from losing. And man, I can't even really see our army under this. This is insane. I actually had thought that the enemy was programmed not to do this anymore, because back in Total Warhammer 2, during its release, the AI would have a tendency to build stacks like this. Like you would have high elves that would build like, I don't know, 15 dragons in their army, etc., for various factions. So I'm kind of surprised to see this again. Kind of interesting, though. Oh, look at our lord in the center with the drum and the Archasotek and the Zotes, the tiny Eternal Guard just down here. It's a terrible battlefield to be on. And, ooh, looks like some Eternal Guard have moved out of the fray on the right flank here, or Eternal Wardens, I should say. Enemy is still taking damage. We are going to run out of Earthbloods sooner rather than later, however. In fact, I think at this point we are starting to run out of them. And up until now, we've been able to use the Earthbloods and the Flesh to Stone. So these guys have 72 out of 80 units, so they're taking damage, but they weren't losing units due to that combination of cannot die. As soon as we run out, however, due to the massive amount of splash damage from this army, we will lose a ton of our Eternal Guard. Hoping to do at least a little bit more damage before the last of our spell uses are gone. Man, we really could have used a impassable terrain, a pyramid, a rock, a big old rock, anything, to funnel the enemy into one point rather than being completely surrounded like this. Oh, and on top of that, rogue idols, when they are destroyed, when they collapse, they do damage. They collapse into shards that damage units below them, so that's even worse for the Eternal Guard. Definitely starting to take damage on some Toparian's Avengers, down to half HP. Ooh, this unit here of Eternal Guard is down to the dregs. This unit's down to 20% HP, but it does look like the balance of power is definitely in our favor now, about 85% in our favor, I should say. We are also using our Spellsinger to cast heals and whatnot, but at the same time to charge or to chase enemy giants that are routing down so that they don't return to the fray. We got to deal with the last of those big old rogue idols. Gotta admit though, conceptually this is a pretty cool fight. And also, unlike the Eternal Guard, which have taken very heavy losses now, and some of them are starting to rout in fact, our Zotes are pretty much okay. I guess while the rogue idols are unbreakable until they are destroyed, the giants, the fact that they are actually willing to rout is beneficial to us, because it's the giants that are the big threats to the Zotes, not the rogue idols. At least not so much by comparison. Giants much more likely to deliver their heavy damage and knock individual Zotes out. Does look like the last of the rogue idols, however, will collapse and the battle will be ours. Look at the damage on all of our units. However, well, actually this one will get to about half HP, this one about half HP. Yeah, very, very close for a number of these guys. I'm actually very impressed that they all survived though. Even as close as it was, once again, got to love that flesh to stone, the abundance of flesh to stone that we have. Cannot die is just so great. Ooh, alright, that was rough for the Eternal Guard, though we can still see that they did a pretty huge amount of damage. Obviously, the sword and board guys only had about 8k, but between 20 to 26k-ish for all these spear wielders. I love the fact that the spear wielders actually get to shine, as the sword and board guys, the wardens, do have a tendency to outkill them or outdamage them in most regular battles, but regular battle, this was obviously not. Very, very fun. I'm impressed that this army held together. I do believe several of the units of Eternal Guard and Wardens were routing at the end, but it looks like the Zotes at least were able to hold on. Gotta appreciate all the healing we got, and I think this was the one single time that this army's war drum was not threatened. Anyway, that army is completely destroyed because we were able to hunt down the runners with our Spellsinger and a little bit with Datayan as well, and we'll be heading towards the next invasion. I'm gonna assume that we can actually reach it. Well, I hope so, because we need to... Oh, we won't even be full health. Oh, that's not good. That's not good at all. Well, whatever. Orc Spain, Luckstone, Eternal Guard Commander, though we already have them in this army. Savage Orc Invasion destroyed, but not for long, as next turn another one will pop up. Here... If that were to happen again, we'll probably need more melee damage on Datayan to try to break through those big old monsters. So let's put another 30% weapon strength on her, and we'll see how well she can do there. Yeah. I don't think we have a spare healing potion or anything of that nature, so just gotta deal with what we got. Alrighty, what about you? Let's get another point in Onslaught, because we are attacking and more weapon strength is definitely needed. Ooh, although... Cheaper regrowth. No, I gotta go with cheaper regrowth. I do like Onslaught. I probably should have done cheaper Earthblood as well, but we do have Earthblood for free available on the Zotes here. Hammers of Ariel and Rage of Zolcath. Well, if we get another similar type of army, you're gonna have to hold again. Let's skip to the end of the turn and let's see what the enemy brings. Dodan, who are you and why are you moving? Oh, right, you. It's just a random army of just take a random pile of elite troops that we have out there, just sort of guarding the place. Kairos wants peace now. No thanks, Kairos. And no need. We just essentially put an army up here near the drowned so that they didn't overrun Nagaroth, because if they were to overrun Nagaroth, they'd move towards the Sisters of Twilight, and yeah, there's no need for that either. Alright, let's see what kind of army is going to pop up here. Is it the same kind, or will it actually have some savage orcs? Incantation of Xar, that's fine. Everybody's getting this Cunctator thing. Enemy hero action success chance +5, speed -5. Because everybody, well, all the recruiters and builders at least are sitting there. What do you get? Oh, we can't see. Alright. Tech Thief ready for DUT. Technology researched. Speed and melee and missile weapon damage for all characters. You're up to 871 now, .10. Not horrible. And Gromby, what, is he moving towards us again? It's kind of annoying. This little army would probably be able to easily defend against him if they actually attack. I'm just going to leave it there. Frankly, the Sisters of Twilight could also move towards there if they really wanted to.
Hurry it up.
Well, this army isn't going to be, like, it's got miners and stuff. It's not going to be elite enough for us to actually care about it, so we're not going to bother fighting it. But this one, if it's anything like the last one, most definitely will be. For the love of, where are you guys appearing? No, not in our territory, that's fine. Alright. Hawk Companion, you. Well, let's see what we got here. Do we want to pop ourselves into... You know what, we probably need the extra armor-piercing weapon damage if we're against rogue idols again. And we are... Oh, it's more giants this time. Oh, what are these armies? Oh, man, okay, well... I guess we're gonna have to try it again. Here we go. Pyrrhic Victory, we're damaged this time as well, and especially on our spear wielders, which ain't so great. I wonder if the fact that it's more giants will work in our favor or against us here. They have less HP, and they have less armor. On the other hand, they're better against single entities, so they should be able to deal better with the Zotes. They also have that trample thing that SFO gives them, which means area damage. I should have checked what the damage was like between the giants and the savage rogue idols at last fight, but I guess it's not like there ain't plenty of these guys around here anyway, so go. Alright, here we go again. Double your giants, double your fun, I guess. We are damaged now and we'll be facing off against yet another one of these ridiculous savage orc forces. I can't believe they didn't have any regular savage orcs whatsoever, and are funnily enough led by a regular orc war boss. But anyway, as per or similar to the last fight, we will be trying to snipe said enemy lord from above. And it does take a while as the range damage isn't anything crazy, but well, he's got a long way to travel towards us. As does the rest of his army. We are in fact going to speed it up because they're going to be traveling there for quite a while. Now, this battlefield is a little bit different from the previous, not just an open desert, but actually with a big old cliffside to our backs, which means we do have impassable terrain to our backs and sort of to one of our sides as well. We are definitely going to take advantage of that, and hopefully that'll make it a little bit easier to take these big old units on, and especially as the idea is if we can force them to get into each other's way, and if we can force them to get stopped by the... Oh, nice shot! Down goes the war boss. Sans head. Anyway, if we can force the enemy to sort of press themselves up against the Zotes and not sort of get into the middle of the formation of the much more fragile infantry, then we'll definitely have a bigger advantage there. Anyway, here come the giants leading the charge into our Eternal Guard and the Zotes. Once again, we will activate Earth to Flesh to Stone. And here come those big old belly flopping rogue idols. Gotta love that move, though. And once again, our war drum is safe. The entire campaign has been very much a toss-up for this war drum as to whether it will survive or as to whether it will get deleted from the army again. But finally it's found its place where it cannot be touched by enemies. Alright, obviously tactically, there's not much to say about this particular fight. We just gotta hold the ground in a big old blob against the enemy's much bigger and more frightening blob. And damn, that's a lot of giants working together. And, ooh, they do got that infantry smashing animation. Love to see that. Oh, you just picked one up and smashed one. You got another one. Man, this giant really likes that animation. So do I, though, so hardly mad. Alright, ooh, it does look like a couple of the rogue idols have managed to use their mass to get closer to the center of our formation, which is the exact thing that we want to avoid. We are somewhat able to keep back a few of our more hurt units. This one is trying to head back towards the back line, sort of try to swap units out, but it does look like the rogue idols continue moving forward. What's their mass, by the way? 7.5k, yeah. Are Toad Dragons the same? I'm just wondering whether a Toad Dragon could keep a rogue idol back or not. And some damn cool shots in this. We're getting some really cool shots in this campaign. Still hard to beat that Dryka and Coadil shot or the Dryad shot in the forest. That was my favorite, probably of all time. Smashy, smashy, but how effective are the smashy, smashy being? Bounce power's at about 70% in our favor. Oh, while we were busy over here, I forgot. I did send our Lord to defeat one of the enemy rogue idols, which it looks like Datayan did manage to do. But rather than fighting the giant, we had to send the Lord back because we needed the stand your ground buff on the entire army, putting the, for example, Challengers of Eldrazi here to 107 melee defense and 112 armor, with the Bone Cracker debuff from the Rogue Idols, but also minus the 25 armor that we would normally have from the War Drum in this army, because once again we need the immunity to psychology. And it is taking a long time to bring those Rogue Idols down. But I guess out of all of our armies, this one is the one that takes the longest to dish out damage, for obvious reasons. It's meant to hold the line, and hey, and certainly is doing so. Alright, it looks like more of the enemy giants are wandering away, having been routed or having shattered, and once again our Spellsinger is going to do the same job that she was doing in the previous battle, chasing down each giant, having the eagle go after their heels until the giant topples into the sands. Alright. Still a fair few giants in the middle of the fight, however, even with those others running, and we will continue casting whatever heals we can. It does look like we are starting to dwindle in terms of infantry numbers, at least, however. This unit is down to only 20 units, and is routing as well. This unit's very close. Actually, several units of our infantry are very close, but that was always going to be the case here. Unfortunately, with our backs to the wall, quite literally, we don't really have anywhere to run, and the unfortunate aspect of that is if a unit of infantry does get stuck in the blob like this, it will continue losing more units to AoE attacks and the trample effect. And we may actually lose units that way. As in, lose models that we don't necessarily want to lose. Yeah, well done to these Zoats, but it looks like, let's see, well actually the Zoats are more or less okay, but they are being healed constantly as well, and it's easier to keep them up and running since they're monstrous infantry than it is the Eternal Guard. And that said, the bounce power is at about 80% in our favor now. Most of the giants are having a pretty bad day, and our Lord and Hero have continued to chase said giants down. You can see 4 corpses of theirs out there, and I'm sure we'll be adding to their numbers shortly. Both forces essentially contracting as they lose numbers, which is pretty cool. Definitely what you want to see when two armies actually fight each other. Not one army obliterating the other army without any losses whatsoever, but both armies trying to fight to the dregs. I think, funnily enough, at this point we could have probably moved most of the Eternal Guard away and allowed the Zoats to finish the work here. But this is their last fight, and they gotta take it to the end. Ooh, I love the shot of the rogue idol as well. When it's sort of against the light so you can't quite see it, but you can still see the glowing green eyes. Alrighty, it looks like the bounce power shifts to 100% in our favor. The rogue idols begin to topple, the giants begin to flee, and the battle is ours at last. One rogue idol remains. You are relentless indeed, more like you are indomitable, as that was a heck of a defense. Plenty of giants to chase down, but as we've seen already, the Spellsinger is quite adept at it. I don't know how many giant kills she got there. And well done to our lord for fighting in the center of all that for the entire fight as well, and soloing one of the rogue idols. Ooh, alright, there we go. The army that was created to hold the line damn well did a hold against, well, I don't think there's too many more things tougher than this to hold against. Maybe a bunch of mutiliths because of the aura damage, but the giants do have trample as well, once again, so there is that to consider. Well done to these guys. One of the Eternal Guards came very close to being destroyed, but at the end of the day, and did manage to survive. Telperians, Rangers, Challengers of Eldrazor, and as we said, the Rages of Zolcath and the Hammers of Ariel were the named units in this particular army, plus of course the Regiment of Renown Winterheart Guards. We have completely destroyed this army, and I'm actually surprised at how good the Spellsinger, well, it's because of the Eagle, is at hunting down those running giants and killing them. And Datayan, did you get corrupted by Slaanesh? 69969. That's an interesting amount of damage dealt. Never seen that before. Well done, though. Appreciate it. We obviously don't need the money. Frankly, we don't really need anything here. We're nearly at 900,000 gold. Obviously, if this campaign had continued with us conquering, obviously we stopped like 30 turns ago or whatever. We could have just conquered everything. I mean, considering the amount of money we have, and just popped army after army out. But there isn't really any need, especially considering we heavily damaged all of the factions that could be a threat to us, essentially. And it does look like some of the AI have woken up. Etain has moved out here. Galleon's Graveyard has been destroyed. The Lustria Bowl is actually looking pretty okay. We did pay a bunch of money to various factions, and other than them still kind of not liking the Hunts Marshal, they're all reasonably friendly with each other. Even the Jade Court is reasonably friendly with the Lizards, all by virtue of us forcing them all to declare war on mutual enemies and all that. Anyway, with that, we're out of time in this episode. I'm going to call it here. 3 more rituals remain, or is it 2 more rituals remain? I don't know. Plus, of course, the final battle. So either next episode or the episode after that will be the finale. So stay tuned for it. Don't forget to leave those likes and comments below. All glory to the algorithm, and damn well glory to the Eternal Guard.